Alex had always considered himself a patient person. He could tolerate noisy neighbors, long lines at the store, and even his little brother's endless questions. But today, his patience was being tested in a completely new way. Across the small living room, his roommate, who happened not to be human, watched him with wide, shimmering eyes. Zyra's translucent skin pulsed gently with every thought, and her many small sensory organs twitched in a way that made Alex feel slightly on edge. "I still don't understand how you lost," Zyra said, her voice musical but tinged with curiosity. She leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, observing the puzzle Alex had been struggling with for the last half hour. "Your species prides itself on pattern recognition, yet here you are failing." "Distracted by what?" she asked, her tone more puzzled than accusatory. "Life," Alex said, waving vaguely. "You know, human stuff." She was brilliant, faster than him at logic games, and eerily good at predicting outcomes. But somehow, when he had proposed the bet that morning, he had been sure he could outsmart her. The bet had been simple: finish a complicated logic puzzle first. The prize? The loser would have to perform a favor for the winner, a favor agreed upon beforehand. Alex, in his overconfidence, had laughed at Zyra's suggestion for a practical human lesson as the prize. And now, after less than an hour, he had lost. "I declare that the loser owes the winner a complete human education," Zyra said, her tone crisp and triumphant. "You will teach me how your species functions. I want to understand your behaviors, your routines, your thinking patterns. Humans are perplexing." And the worst part, Zyra's curiosity was relentless. "So, what do I need to do first?" he asked reluctantly. "Observe," Zyra said immediately. "All humans perform actions that have meaning. I want to know what each action signifies. You will explain, demonstrate, and provide context. Also, I require examples of emotional responses." Examples of emotional responses. Zyra wanted to understand humans, everything about them. Emotions, routines, social rules, and all the little illogical behaviors that made humans human. "All right," Alex said slowly, sitting up and stretching. "Step 1, you watch me live for a day. Observe. Try not to poke anyone in the eye with your weird sensory things. But I must warn you, my understanding is analytical. I will categorize everything." She watched him crack eggs into a bowl, sprinkle salt, and whisk carefully. "Why do you heat this liquid so much?" Zyra asked, pointing at the frying pan. "Because it cooks the eggs," Alex replied, feeling like he was teaching the most basic things in existence. "Cooking, so humans must apply heat to alter chemical composition of food to make it edible or desirable." She nodded. "Interesting. And why do you add these small crystals?" "Curious, humans embrace inefficiency for sensation." Noted. "Just most of the time." Zyra's sensors flared as they passed a group of humans laughing on a street corner. She observed them carefully, recording every gesture, facial expression, and tone of voice. "Why do they contort their faces like that?" Zyra asked. "They're laughing," Alex said. "But why?" "This is illogical. Their vocalizations should indicate alarm or aggression, yet they express joy instead, curious." "You'll get used to it." "Fascinating." Teaching Zyra about humans was going to be a challenge, and maybe, just maybe, it would make him appreciate the oddities of his own species even more. Zyra watched him collapse onto the couch, her sensors flickering with interest. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we will continue. You will show me how humans interact socially. I want to see rules, exceptions, and the influence of emotion." And if Zyra could learn even a fraction of that, maybe she would understand why being human was worth celebrating. And as he drifted off to sleep that night, he couldn't help but think that losing a bet to an alien roommate might be the start of one of the most interesting weeks of his life. The next morning, Alex woke to the sound of soft chimes echoing from Zyra's sensory organs. She was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the couch, eyes glowing faintly as she observed him. Her attention to detail had not diminished overnight. If anything, it seemed sharper. "Good morning," Alex mumbled, rubbing his eyes. He had forgotten what it was like to wake up naturally without a persistent alien observing every movement. "I didn't sleep well. Today, we focus on human social interaction." The air buzzed with activity, humans hurrying to work, children laughing, vendors calling out their wares. Zyra's eyes darted constantly, her senses analyzing everything. The pitch of voices, the cadence of footsteps, the varying speeds of movement, the subtle gestures humans made to communicate. "Why do humans wave at each other?" Zyra asked as a man on the street greeted a friend with a quick hand motion. Alex shrugged. It's a greeting. People do it to acknowledge someone they know. Efficient yet arbitrary, curious, I will replicate. She lifted a hand and waved at a passing stranger. The stranger blinked, looked confused, then waved back politely. Zyra's eyes shimmered. Observation confirmed. Humans are tolerant of irregular behavior. She leaned close to a street performer juggling flaming batons, analyzing his movements like a scientist studying a lab experiment. She asked Alex why humans enjoyed watching things that were dangerous or difficult. Because it's exciting, Alex said. It makes people feel alive. They admire skill and risk. Exposure to danger is typically avoided, yet humans voluntarily observe it. Fascinating. She noticed the barista's slight nod as Alex handed over money, the way people waited politely for their turn, and the subtle changes in facial expressions when someone tasted their drink. Humans display a wide range of expressions for simple consumption, Zyra noted. Do you train yourselves to appear satisfied? We react to taste, texture, temperature, and sometimes we like to exaggerate to show appreciation. Sometimes it wakes you up, you get used to it. Alex realized he was having to explain subtleties he had never consciously thought about before. Humans rely on patterns, yet patterns are flexible, he said. A smile doesn't always mean happiness. A nod might mean agreement, or it could just be polite. You have to read the situation. Unstable variables, yet humans navigate them with success. You thrive in unpredictability. Fascinating. She observed as the parent encouraged and adjusted the kite's string. Why assist? She asked. The child can learn independently. Humans are illogical and yet admirable. Sometimes instincts are better than rules. You're really good at being human in your own way. Your species prioritizes pleasure over efficiency, morality over logic, emotion over reason. Yet you survive, you thrive, you innovate. Why? Observation confirms resilience, creativity, and adaptability. Humans are remarkable. And in Zyra's fascinated gaze, he saw that maybe someone else, even an alien, could see it too. When they returned home, Zyra immediately began categorizing everything they had observed, jotting down notes in her alien script and making small adjustments to her behavior based on the day's experiences. She practiced greetings, mimicked smiles, and even attempted a small, awkward laugh. Alex watched her with a mix of amusement and awe. Tomorrow, Zyra said, we will explore conflict resolution, negotiation, and persuasion. I want to see how humans influence each other and navigate disagreements. Humans thrive not only in cooperation, but also in disagreement. Understanding this is crucial to understanding your species. Perhaps this bet was more valuable than I initially anticipated. Humans were more than just creatures of habit or logic. They were flawed, yes, but they were full of life, creativity, and a kind of unpredictable brilliance that Zyra seemed to find endlessly fascinating. And somehow, Alex knew that by the end of the week, Zyra wouldn't just understand humans, she might even respect them. And maybe, in the process, Alex would see himself and his species in a whole new light. The next morning, Alex woke to the smell of burnt toast. Zyra was hovering in the kitchen, carefully examining the toaster with the intensity of a scientist dissecting an unknown device. Her translucent skin glowed faintly in the early sunlight, and her multiple sensory organs twitched as she analyzed the heating coils. Why do humans expose bread to intense heat? She asked, peering over the counter. The chemical composition changes, but nutrients are lost. It is inefficient. It's tradition, comfort, and taste, not just nutrition. Emotion does. Humans are illogical. Why do they create patterns on a surface they will destroy? Zyra asked. The designs are temporary, yet they devote significant effort. Sometimes it doesn't have to last. Creativity is a signal of intelligence beyond logic. Zyra's many eyes widened as she tried to process the sound waves, the rhythm, and the coordinated movement of humans around her. Why do humans produce sound for entertainment? Zyra asked. It consumes energy but serves no functional purpose. Logic dictates efficiency. Humans thrive on emotional stimulation, not just survival. Observation and replication of human ritual. For the first time, she seemed genuinely puzzled by the depth of human emotion expressed through music. They connect without words, Zyra murmured. This is unexpected. Humans are capable of complex coordination influenced by shared feeling. Fascinating. He wanted her to witness human competition, effort, and resilience firsthand. A soccer game was in progress, with players running tirelessly under the afternoon sun, cheering, shouting, and occasionally colliding with one another. Zyra observed intently, noting every sprint, pass, and strategic movement. "Why do humans exert themselves to such extremes?" she asked. "They risk injury, fatigue, and failure, yet they persist." She attempted to join the game, moving with precise coordination to intercept the ball. She performed flawlessly from a mechanical perspective but lacked the subtle unpredictability of human intuition. A player passed unexpectedly and she missed, colliding gently with a teammate. "Error detected," she said, looking momentarily frustrated. "Humans succeed despite variability. Illogical. Yet admirable." "Humans demonstrate selfless behavior," Zyra said softly. "Motivated not by reward but by moral choice. Observation confirms empathy exists alongside competition and creativity. And that trying, that effort is what makes us remarkable. And we find joy in the struggle." She categorized each behavior meticulously, adding notes about unpredictability and emotional significance. "Tomorrow," she said, "we will explore human conflict, disagreement, argument, negotiation. I must understand how you navigate adversity and disagreement. It is crucial to comprehending your species. After today, can't we just have a quiet day? You're starting to see the human spirit. Now you're finally getting it." "You know," he said, stirring a pot of soup, "I think you're teaching me as much as I'm teaching you." "I'll take that as a compliment." Zyra's fascination had reminded him that being human was an achievement in itself, one worth celebrating. And as he lay down that night, he thought about the week ahead. Conflict, negotiation, and moral challenges awaited. But for the first time, he was excited. If Zyra could learn to appreciate humans for their unpredictability and strength, maybe, just maybe, he could too. Humans weren't perfect, but they were extraordinary, and Zyra was beginning to understand why. The next morning, Alex woke to a quiet apartment. Zyra was already awake, standing in the center of the living room with her arms folded and her eyes glowing softly. Today's lesson, she announced, would focus on human conflict. "Conflict?" Alex asked, rubbing his eyes. "Do we really have to start the day with that? Can't we ease into it?" "Not everything is logical." Alex spotted two street vendors arguing over the placement of a cart. One vendor had moved slightly into the other's space, and voices were raised, hands gesturing wildly. Zyra's eyes widened as she observed. "Observe closely," Alex whispered. "Humans escalate quickly, but they also negotiate." Logical response would be immediate resolution through efficiency, yet humans choose verbal confrontation first. One vendor waved his hands, pointing at the cart, while the other raised his voice, gesturing to the space around them. Alex explained how body language, tone, and volume all played a role in the argument, even more than words sometimes. "Conflict is not just about the issue," Alex said quietly. "It's about emotion, perception, and communication. Humans use argument to express feelings, assert boundaries, and even test each other's patience. Simple, harmless. Maybe ask that woman to move her basket slightly so we can see the fruits. Would you please relocate it by 1 meter to the left?" Humans are unpredictable, but sometimes they cooperate. One of you may play for 3 cycles, then the other. Fair division ensures equality. Next, she observed a group of teenagers in a heated argument over a soccer ball. She tried to mediate using the same formula, suggesting turns and points. One teen, misunderstanding her intent, accused her of taking sides. The argument escalated. Alex intervened, placing a calming hand on Zyra's shoulder. "Zyra, sometimes humans resist strict logic. Emotion drives behavior more than fairness. You have to account for feelings, not just outcomes. That's why conflict can be messy." "Why do humans experience joy and frustration over arbitrary games?" she asked. "The game outcome has no survival value. Emotion as reinforcement of skill acquisition. Observation confirmed. Humans optimize learning through social simulation, efficient yet illogical." Alex laughed so hard he nearly fell from the chair. "See, humans throw in randomness, bluff, misdirection, intuition, things you can't calculate. It's part of being human. That's all that matters." Alex watched in awe. You just helped a stranger. Ethical action can override self-interest. Humans are remarkable. Tomorrow, she said softly, I will practice advanced social integration. I want to learn persuasion, subtlety, and emotional influence. Humans must trust and be persuaded without coercion. Understanding this is essential. Not just to understanding humans, but to seeing why we're, well, human. Your species is extraordinary. It had been a lesson in human spirit, in resilience, compassion, and the ability to navigate a world full of emotion, chaos, and unpredictability. He knew tomorrow's lesson on persuasion and subtle social influence would challenge them both even further. But for now, he allowed himself a small sense of pride. He was teaching an alien to understand humanity, and in the process, Zyra was teaching him to appreciate what it truly meant to be human. The morning sun spilled golden light across the apartment, highlighting the quiet anticipation in Zyra's eyes. Today, Alex knew, would be the final lesson of their week-long exploration into human behavior. Over the past 4 days, Zyra had learned to observe, mimic, and analyze nearly every human activity Alex could show her. Social interactions, creativity, conflict, empathy, and resilience. But today would be different. Today, Zyra wanted to experience the full complexity of humans interacting with one another, to understand not just the logic or emotion, but the depth of the human spirit itself. Alex stretched, rubbing his neck. All right, Zyra, today we're going to see humans at their best and sometimes at their worst. You ready? I wish to integrate all knowledge. Zyra's multiple sensory organs flickered with information at an incredible speed, recording every detail. Observe carefully, Alex said. Humans celebrate not only achievement but existence itself. We share joy openly, and sometimes we just make life beautiful. A group of teenagers struggled to get one airborne, shouting instructions and laughing with increasing frustration. Zyra paused, her sensors analyzing the scene. Why do humans exert effort for something that does not provide sustenance or protection? She asked. Because it's fun, Alex said with a grin. Because the process is more important than the result. Humans thrive on creation and cooperation, even when it's challenging. Emotion reinforces achievement. Outcome is secondary, observation confirmed. Why do humans synchronize movement? She asked. It consumes energy with no clear advantage. A few humans watched curiously but were soon drawn into her energy, moving along in awkward but joyful imitation. Alex laughed, clapping for her. See, you're influencing humans now, that's called connection. Humans are remarkable. She approached it logically, calculating moves, anticipating steps, and coordinating perfectly. But the humans weren't predictable. One participant intentionally made a mistake, another chose a risky move. Zyra's carefully calculated strategy faltered. She paused, her sensors dimming slightly as she processed the chaos. Alex placed a hand on her shoulder. Sometimes humans throw in unpredictability on purpose. Not to sabotage, it's just fun. It's learning, it's social. A young couple argued over a game score only to laugh and reconcile moments later. Children cried when they lost at contests, then hugged and comforted one another. Teens debated rules, shouted playful insults, and ultimately compromised. Humans manage emotion, competition, and cooperation simultaneously, Zyra said, almost to herself. They fail often, yet persist. They hurt, yet forgive. They are unpredictable, yet maintain cohesion. Observation confirms excellence beyond logic. Your species balances emotion, logic, and morality in ways I had not fully anticipated. I am impressed. Zyra sat beside Alex, observing intently as humans expressed themselves freely, sometimes laughing, sometimes reflecting, sometimes comforting one another. Humans communicate depth through narrative, Zyra observed. Information is intertwined with emotion. Knowledge and experience are conveyed simultaneously. It's how we teach, inspire, and remember. Humans survive not only through logic and strength, but through shared culture and wisdom. Alex laughed. Not bad, you're telling a story your own way, that's human too. The city lights twinkled, reflecting in Zyra's shimmering skin. Silence settled between them, comfortable and reflective. Alex, Zyra said softly, I have learned much about humans. Your species is resilient, creative, compassionate, and beautiful in its complexity. You survive despite imperfection, thrive despite unpredictability, and create joy despite challenge. I am grateful for your instruction. Zyra began compiling her final observations, cataloging not only data but reflections on the qualities that made humans extraordinary. She paused, looking at Alex. "Perhaps the most important lesson," she said, "is not what humans do, but why. Your species acts with courage, compassion, and creativity. You face uncertainty and imperfection with determination. That is what makes you remarkable." She had learned how humans function, yes, but she had also learned to appreciate the human spirit. "Tomorrow," Zyra said quietly, "I will begin to teach humans about Velera, but today I celebrate humanity. I honor your species. I will attempt simplicity, but perhaps the lesson is that humans are never simple. That is part of the wonder. Humans were chaotic, emotional, illogical, and messy, but they were also resilient, creative, compassionate, and capable of incredible connection. And Zyra, his alien roommate, had seen it all. She had witnessed humans laugh, argue, create, fail, forgive, and persevere. She had come to respect them, maybe even admire them. And Alex, looking at her shimmering form in the soft light, realized that perhaps that was the true gift of the bet. Seeing humanity reflected in someone else's awe and understanding, and realizing just how extraordinary it truly was. The week ended not with a conclusion, but with celebration of friendship, curiosity, and the enduring spirit of humans. And as Alex drifted to sleep that night, he smiled, thinking that maybe losing a bet to an alien roommate was not a loss at all. It was a chance to see what made humans truly remarkable and to celebrate it fully.